wish I were facing you guys a little bit more, because I really want to talk to you tonight. It's certainly an honor to be asked to speak to this illustrious group. I know that the parents in the audience are just so proud to be able to say, my son or my daughter is in the National Honor Society. For your parents, the fact that you're a member of this group, of this organization, it's a validation for them that they've raised you right. Because if you can meet the requirements for this organization, it means you are an outstanding and productive member of our community. And that's all a parent ever wants of a child. Now, I'd like to talk to you tonight about something that I hope you'll take the time to do, because it will help you have a prosperous, happy, and productive life. So it says to do, so I'm giving you homework. You asked me to come up here and speak to you, I have to give you some homework as we go on. Now, before you can understand what I'm going to ask you to do, I need to lay out a rationale for it. And it starts with me talking about astronomy, right? And in particular, about one star, the star Polaris. Right? Most of us know Polaris by another name, right? The North Star. Everybody got the right? Honor Society, right? Everybody should be nodding, just making sure. Polaris, forms. It's the end of the Little Dipper, right? It starts at the handle, at the end of the handle there. A lot of people mistakenly think it's the brightest star in the sky, but it's not. It's actually the 50th brightest in the sky. Now, those of you who have me for English, you know I love symbolism. And I want you to think for a moment about what the North Star could symbolize. Think about this star for a second. Ancient mariners first noticed that star, long ago. All the other constellations, right, rotated around the sky, and they noticed this one little star staying, still. Nomads crossing the desert noticed the same thing. And they were able to travel because they figured out that it was, a northern point that didn't move. Or American slaves, traveling to freedom to the north, counted on it. They would find, the North Star. First what they would do is find the Big Dipper, but they didn't call it the Big Dipper, they called it the drinking gourd. And they would look at the end cup of the drinking gourd and those last two stars, and they would draw a line through those two stars, and about 5 times the distance of those two stars, there would be Polaris. And they would know that as long as they were heading towards Polaris, they were heading towards freedom. Now, think about that. Think about that star, right, as that symbol. Right? If you're compared to that star, right, you're someone who's consistent. You're someone who's reliable. Use it as a simile. Right? She was as steady as Polaris. Right? Use it as a metaphor. He was Polaris amid the chaos. Right? So we have to incorporate a little bit of English here tonight for them, because there has to be a learning, position to this thing. Now, how is Polaris connected to what I'm going to ask you to do? Well, sometimes in life, we lose our bearings and we get lost, right? We're all of a sudden heading down somewhere and we say, how did I get here? Well, it's, you're on a road that you really don't want to be on. In that same way that Polaris actually guides travelers, there are some people who've come to use Polaris as a metaphorical guide for their lives. When it's time to get your life's bearings, you're going to need to get out your compass and find Polaris. A Harvard professor by the name of Bill George, he's a business professor at Harvard, and he wrote a book about this, and he's talked about this idea of finding your true north. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about tonight. It's this true north. He's saying that if we can find it for ourselves, we're more likely to lead happy lives, productive lives, and be effective leaders. He defines true north as this: the purpose, the values, and passions that successfully guide you through life. The purpose, the values, and passions that guide you through life. Now, I want to challenge you tonight to begin your journey to find your true north. That's your homework. And this challenge is going to be tough because it requires you to think about some things that we don't think about enough. When was the last time you devoted some time to answer the question, what is my purpose in life? What's my purpose in life? I mean, how deep is that? It's not an easy thing to answer, is it? But I encourage you to think about it for 3 reasons. Because if you define your purpose in life, if you can do that, if you can establish your true north, it's going to do 3 things. It will lead you to be happy in whatever career path you take. It will help you to make sure that your most important relationships in your life are an enduring source of happiness. And will help you to lead a life of integrity. Now, how will it do this? Well, let's talk about your career choice. Do you know what's not the most powerful source for being happy in your career? Money. Everybody thinks money's the answer, right? But money doesn't motivate people the way that you think it would. People who are happy in their career are happy because their career provides them with four things. It provides them with an opportunity to learn, a chance to grow in responsibilities, an opportunity to be recognized for doing a good job, and a chance to contribute to others. Now, for those of you who haven't noticed, that was also in parallel structure. Right? Make sure that we got right, the format. We got that, making sure. So now, before you make your career choice, though, I want you guys to consider your true north. What's your purpose? What are your passions? Right? What are your values? Right? What is your purpose in life? Because you have to let those be your guide to your career path. Those of you who have me in class, right? I always challenge you every day. To find a day I wasn't excited to teach you, because I love to teach. All right? I didn't go into teaching for the money. All right? But I get a chance every day to have an impact on young people. And after 26 years in teaching, I'm still learning about how to become a better teacher. My administrators, they give me more responsibilities than most other teachers because they know I can handle them. And then when I'm asked to write a recommendation for one of you or to speak here tonight, that's a recognition that I'm doing a good job as a teacher, and it motivates me even more to want to do a better job. Teaching for me fulfills my true north. But there are a lot of people who have jobs, places that they go to every single day that don't make them happy. My hope for you is that as your career path unwinds, you don't forget what it is that will make you happy. There are a lot of people making a lot of money who aren't happy. Follow your true north to your career, and you'll lead a life filled with happiness. Now let's talk about relationships. How can finding your true north help you to make sure that your relationships are a source of enduring happiness? Think about marriage for a second. Unfortunately, in America, almost 50% of marriages end in divorce. And I'm pretty sure that when people get married, they didn't have a deliberate strategy that one day they were going to get divorced and maybe have to live away from their own children. But there are a lot of times that relationships break down because one or both people in a relationship lost their true north. Right? They didn't keep the purpose of their lives right front and center in front of them when they were deciding how to spend their time, how to use their talents, right? How to expend their energy. They spend too much time at work, too much time with other people, right? Maybe too much time doing some unhealthy things. And then all of a sudden the relationship crumbles, right? It crumbles because the relationship wasn't put front and center in their lives. There were other things that became more important. And a lot of times people say they don't know where things went wrong. But if you constantly contemplate your purpose, right, and your passion, you can keep things in proper perspective and make sure that your relationships are growing in the right way. I'm a football coach, right? I love to coach football, and I used to want to be a college coach. There was a time where I really thought I was going to, rise up and become, head high school football coach, and then move to the college ranks. And then I learned a little bit about, being a college coach. A typical assistant college coach lasts about 2 or 3 years on a job. The divorce rate is even higher than the 50%. The time away from family is tremendous, and for me, I have 4 daughters. I wasn't willing to spend that time away from them because my purpose in life was to be their dad, was to be there to be their role model so that they can be like you guys are here tonight. And so I had to have my true north, guide me in my position to understand my relationships. My relationships with my daughter are what they are because of my true north. Just remember, okay, just because your life is full with a lot of things, it doesn't make it fulfilling. Make it fulfilling by getting the most out of your relationships and keeping your true north within them. And lastly, establishing your true life's purpose. Your true north can help you lead a life of integrity. You're going to be tempted a lot of times to do some things that aren't right, many times in your lives. Now, how do we even know the difference between right and wrong? That's one of the big things. And you can only know it if that standard has been set for you somewhere along the line. And as you probably learned, you probably learned those standards from your parents, okay? And your parents were the ones who set the standard for you. And as you probably learned, many people have different standards for what's right and wrong. How many times did your parents use the lines on you? I don't care what so-and-so is doing in their house, you're not doing that in mine. You live by the rules of my house. Those are the standards. That's what your parents are trying to get across, right? And in a lot of ways, it's, your values and your system, or your parents' value systems, your parents' spiritual beliefs. They form your true north, right?